Hi there, card makers. This is Becca Feekin with Amazing Paper Grace, and today I have a brand new interactive card collection that I want to show you. It is called Garden Shutters, and I'm showing it on the screen right now. I am going to show you how the mechanism works for this card, and when we get to the part of embellishment, it is a lot of fast forward, otherwise it would feel like paint drying. At any rate, here's some more information about the collection. Garden Shutters comes in two flavors, A7 and A2, and so I'm going to show you the dies here. This first set is the A7 set. It's called Butterfly Bliss Garden Shutters, and it's S6-183. On the left-hand side, you have the dies that make up the base of the card, and then pretty much on the right-hand side are decorative elements, in this case, butterflies. For my project today, I'm going to be using Primrose Heart Facade, which is S5-484 with spellbinders, and it's beautiful. It has words, it has some flowers, and so we'll be using those for our embellishments today. The next thing I want to show you is Daisy Delight Garden Shutters. It is the A2 card base, and it is S5-479 with spellbinders. Now, this you can see is smaller than the A7. They are both full sets in that they have their card base and they have decorations in the set, so you can make a full card. And then last, we have a frame die. This is called Eyelet Lace Frame. It's S6-184, and it was designed specifically to fit over the A7 card base. This is what it looks like when it's cut. It's simply beautiful. And if you were to put it on your A7 card, this is how it would fit. And then, of course, the shutters rotate independent of the frame. It can also be used to make its own card. So let's jump right in. What I have here are the dies that we need to make the base. It's actually pretty simple, and there are only a couple of pieces. I'll be showing you how we're going to use them. We're going to start out with the rim and the inlay of this decorative piece. When combined, they'll create a panel, and I need 3 of these. The next thing I need to cut are the pull tabs. I need 2 in white and 2 in pink. And on the white ones, the word pull needs to go up on one and down on the other. Eventually, they'll be glued back to back together like this. Okay, so the next die that we're going to tackle in the making of this card is this frame. I'll set the other one aside. For the card, you need to cut 3 panels that are 5 inches by 7 inches each. They can be out of double-sided paper or not, or they can be out of solid colored paper or not. So on the gingham that I've chosen for the card here, I do have the panel and I need a pencil. We're going to do a little bit of measuring. So coincidentally, I'm working on a grid pad. That's something I'll link below. I find it very handy. I need to find the midpoint of this paper on the top, the bottom, and the side. So on the grid paper, it's very easy to measure that. You could easily do it with a ruler also. Once I have figured out the midpoint on each side, I just use another piece of paper to draw a line. Now this needs to be a really light line because it has to be erased later, but I'm drawing the line because I need to make a quick reference point that is going to help me get a balanced frame. After I've drawn the lines on my frame, I pick up this last die, and if you look closely, you'll see that on each edge there's a little divot, and that is just to help you line up and get a good frame. So I have my die turned over and I'm lining it up with the divots so that the line runs through the center of each divot. And here's what that looks like from both aspects. I've taken it and I've run it through my die cut machine, and what you end up with is a perfect frame. So now we're going to tackle this last piece. It is the most important piece in the die set. It is the interactive piece, and the holes and the bump outs are significant. The way you use this is you turn it over, you align it on the right side and the top, and then you secure your paper, and then you're going to run it through your die cut machine. When you're finished cutting and you release the die from the paper, you're going to have 4 holes, and you're also going to have your first shutter. So then you'll line up for your next run through the die cutting machine. I flip it over both ways and look through the back at the holes and then secure it to the front. And if I'm off a little bit, then I just flip it over and align everything again. Verify by the holes, and then I run it through the die cutting machine. Now that I've run it through 2 times, when I take the die off, you'll be able to see that I have 2 of my shutters. And this will be the 3rd pass with the interactive die. Again, I line it up by the holes, and then I will run it through my die cutting machine. And now we have our triple shutters for our card. Now that we've cut the shutters, I'm going to turn it to the proper orientation with the opening of the shutters at the top, and then I'm going to gently fold along all of the perforation lines without folding all the way to the edges. I am now working from the back side, and you can see up close that I have a square with a hole in it. For this particular paper that's brittle, I'm going to put a piece of tape over that perforation to give it some stability. You won't have to do that often, but in this particular case, the paper is not heavyweight. So I'm placing all of my tape strips, and then on each one of those squares, I am going to put a square piece of adhesive. And so I've just reached for my handy dandy adhesive squares. They're by 3L adhesives. They are 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch, and they conveniently fit the tabs that I'm pointing to. There are 6 of them, so I'll place 1 adhesive square on each tab. Next, I'll pull the backing off of all of the adhesive squares. And then I'm going to reach for my card bottom. I'll flip this over, I'll align it, and then I'll adhere it down. You do need to be careful to be on the mark with this. With these adhesives, they are a tiny bit forgiving, but they are fairly permanent. And now I have flexed the shutters. It's a great time to add the words. So I'm just grabbing the words and my Berry Arts glue, and I'll just dot on some of the glue. You don't have to put a lot of it, just in strategic places, and then I'll place it on each shutter and glue it down. I'm just adding a clear mount to give it some weight and force it to lay flat. Before we get too far in the process, this is the right time to start adding the tabs while we can get to those areas. So I glued them together back to back, and then I'm going to put one that says pull at the top and one that says pull at the bottom. I am adding the pull tab. The first one is going to go on top of the back layer of paper, and I've centered it on my grid. And then the bottom one is going to go underneath the upper layer that we have here right now. And now it's the right time to put down our decorative panels. I simply place glue on the back, and then I center them and place one down on each shutter. And now we have some more adhesive squares to apply to the front. Be careful at this juncture. These adhesive squares don't go on a square tab, and they go above the perforation. And I'll hold this up so you can get a clear look at exactly where they go. I am going to add some glue squares at the top and at the bottom just to give everything a little bit of lift and stability. And now I'm pulling off all of the liners. Now I've picked up the frame that we cut earlier, and I want to make sure to erase off any remnants of pencil. And now we can flex our model and lay that frame in place. Just be careful here, it's fairly permanent. And then flex the model a couple of times so that it will get some muscle memory. And that is our basic card. Now we're going to move on to embellishment. So I need to make a bunch of flowers for this one. I've picked white as the color, and I've cut one, and I'm just going in the center with some ink. This ink is Rustic Rose, using a brush. And then I'm going to bend the petals just a little bit to give it some dimension. And after I do that, I'm going to pop in my little pad and just poke it down in the middle. You'd have to spend a lot of time doing this. Followed up by a dot of glue, and this is the other part of the flower that just gives it a little bit of pop. To finish the flowers off, I just plunk down a little pearl in the center of each, and then we're done. I actually need 7 of these. Okay, now we're off to the final embellishment of this particular card. I'm just placing the flowers on the shutters, and I am fast forwarding through this so that it's not too agonizing. I'm adding ribbon, and now our card is done. I'm just flexing it to make sure that none of the flowers are caught, and we are finished with our garden shutters. Thanks for stopping by for this how-to on garden shutters. There's more to come in the future. In the interim, I hope you'll consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. See you next time.